Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Marco Dre Show, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025, halfway through the week. Thanks for tuning in to get all the relevant groundbreaking news, both here in the United States and around the world. The only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please be sure to hit that like button, follow the show, hit that notification tab, and share with as many people as possible to get the truth out. Let's get ready for the best hour that radio has to offer, uncensored and ready to go as always. You know, I want to start off before we get into our foreign policy issues that we're facing with right now, what's happening in Doha. I saw this article in Fox Detroit. It says here, take a listen to this. It says, Dearborn Heights is the first in the United States with Arabic on police patch. Can you see how we're devolving into a third world cesspool? Can you see that happening right in front of your eyes and no one says a damn thing about it? Look at this. It says here that the Dearborn Heights Police Department is unveiling a new officer-designed police patch that will be the first one in the country to feature Arabic. The police department even confirmed now to Fox 2 on Wednesday that the department has a new optional patch that officers can wear as part of their uniform. It says here that the patch will include the Michigan seal in the center with the words Dearborn Heights Police, written in both English and in Arabic. Look at this. Officer, I can't even say her name, Armeli Murdoch, who designed it to reflect and honor our diversity of our community. What a piece of garbage. What a piece. Just to show her ass right off the, I don't know if it's a guy or a gal. Throw him right off the force. What? Diversity of what? Speak the damn language. How about that? Dearborn Heights' Middle Eastern and North African population was 39% as of 2023. Neighboring Dearborn has a population of roughly 55%. There we go. Descending into the third world right in front of our eyes. And no one says a damn thing about it, do they? Just kind of creeps up on you. And look what the Biden administration did with these millions. Where do you think they all went, by the way? They went to these blue cities, these blue sanctuary city and states that have these policies. Yeah, how many came from the Middle East, came from North Africa during the Biden administration? And then all of a sudden it just pops up right on you, out of nowhere. 55% of this population is Arabic. And now we're trying to put words in Arabic to reflect the diversity of the population, don't you know? What an abomination this is. Tom Homan, time to do your job here. I think you'll find that most people here, I would have to say, are probably not American citizens. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The people I know, they speak English and Arabic. They assimilate. They don't come and bring their exact culture with them. No, this has nothing to do with freedom of religion. It has everything to do with assimilating into American culture. This is now what's happening in places like Dearborn, among other places, Minneapolis, among other places, New York City. We're seeing this in parts of Texas now, with these big demonstrations in the public square. People praying in public, in Arabic, for Islam, of course. Gee, I wonder what the founders would have said about all this. I would love to know what they would say about all this. Absolute atrocity going on right now. Yep, there you go. Happening right in front of your eyes. Well, the white culture begins to get erased. There you go. Right in a nutshell. Right in front of your eyes. Just thought I'd share this one with you. I saw this, and I wanted to bring this to your attention because, again, it's a slow process. Everything you're seeing right now is a slow process. So in little increments, that's what they do. A little bit at a time, then the population grows a little bit more at a time. Immigration, illegal immigration, all these things happen, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and 10 years down the road, you have a population that's just overwhelmingly not assimilating, they're not speaking the language, they're not having anything to do with American culture, and they want to bring their culture and import it into the United States. We see this in many different parts of the country where this happens. And it's only going to get worse as time goes on, unless we stop this. So again, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, what are you going to do your jobs? And vet these populations and put a stop to this crap. I don't want to see signs written in Arabic or any other damn language for that matter. English is the national language. All our founding documents are in English. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But here we go. It's a slow little process. You put it on the police patch, and you put it on the police, the side of the building, and the street signs become Arabic, and there you go. You turn into a cesspool. By the way, Dearborn was created by Henry Ford, by the way. He started that city right outside of Detroit. It's unbelievable to me how far we've fallen in this country. Yesterday I was talking with everybody about the slain death of the young 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, Iryna Zarutska. And this case just keeps to get more and more out of control here as we find out more about what happened. Obviously, more footage came out yesterday evening after the show. It's absolutely disgusting that this creep, this criminal, was able to get out on the streets again and do this. And we should be outraged by this. Everyone should be outraged by this. The idea that somebody that is a 14-time convicted felon can just simply walk free, use public transportation, then just out of nowhere, she was sitting in front of him for like 4 minutes straight, I think it was what it was. He pulls out a knife and just stabs her. What it looks like to be like the neck to me. 10 seconds later, she's falling down in the seat in front of her, keeling over. No one in the area next to her does anything. They simply look and just continue on with their day. Like, yeah, whatever. Nothing happened. But I will say this. A lot of people are saying nobody did anything. That's actually not exactly true. Another two people, they were not sitting in that section, came over afterwards. And a young black man, it appears to me, from what I'm seeing, and a white woman are trying to, again, what it appears to me, trying to stop this bleeding. I mean, there's blood all over the place. It's leaking from under the seat to the train doors that open up. I mean, it's all over the place. It's on the seat. I mean, she was obviously probably dead at that point. But there were two people that did try to help this woman out. And I think that should be said, that nobody didn't try to help her. So I know you're seeing that on social media, the 4 or 5 people sitting in that region next to her, of the car, or the area of the car, I should say. Two other people did try to help her out. So that should be known to everybody. The 2 people were, again, seeing that she was obviously hurt, and they tried to render her some type of care. Futile as it may have been, that's still a good gesture. It shows humanity. It shows empathy. It shows care. So there were people on that train that did show care and concern for Iryna Zarutska. But this gets really odd in many different cases. First of all, we have to address the issue that this guy was released from prison, and we have to ask ourselves why. Why is someone who is a 14-time convicted felon with a rap sheet, again, a huge rap sheet, back out on the streets? We have to ask ourselves this. Why is this happening? Why are our politicians in these cities failing us? It makes absolutely zero sense that someone of this nature, who apparently is suffering from schizophrenia, among other things, just a repeat offender, this recidivism rate with this guy, he's been in jail for several years, and of course, they let him out. They let him out because they have a a weak judge. We're going to get into who this Teresa Stokes actually is in just a minute. But he was actually speaking to one of his family members. I believe it's his sister. It's in the Gateway Pundit. Listen to what this lunatic actually has to say. I mean, it's just, again, appalling on so many levels. Take a listen.
So you said something in your body did what?
Nah, the material, put it like this, the material using my body to stab the lady.
And so she just got stabbed.
Yeah. You know that's not me. I'm talking about just for no reason. But since they did that, now they got to investigate the material in my body exposed to. Since they want to do all that, now they got to investigate.
It's funny because she's from the Ukraine. She's from Russia, and they got a war. They had a war going on against the United States. So I'm just trying to understand, out of all people, why her?
It ain't. I don't have nothing. They just lashed out on her. That's what happened. They lashed out on her. Whoever was working the material, whoever was working the material, they lashed out on her.
That's amazing. This guy actually thinks that the government implanted something inside this guy. He actually believes this, and this is the reason why he's acting this way. I mean, obviously suffering from mental illness, that doesn't excuse anything, by the way. This brutal thug piece of human trash should be behind bars. Even Donald Trump has come out now and said that the death penalty should be on the table for this guy. Absolutely. But where is the outrage? Where is the outrage from anybody on this? We saw the news media was absolutely silent for over 2 weeks. Because it was on social media, it actually started getting ground. Nobody said a damn thing about this. And I don't think I need to mention to you if the roles were reversed, if it was a car of mostly white people, and a white man stood up and stabbed a black woman like this and killed her, we would hear about this nonstop. You know it, I know it. But this doesn't fit the narrative. Right? The number one threat to democracy, according to Joe Biden, many on the Democratic side will say it's white men, particularly on the right. Well, the number one terrorist group in America are white men. Clearly not. But the statistics don't show that. And this isn't to label a whole group of people as the same, of course, but the incidents, when we're looking at the roles being reversed, there's a 30 times greater chance that a black individual will attack a white individual than the opposite. That's just a fact. And we need to understand this. Again, you need to understand what's happening around you. That's the truth of the matter. Again, that's not to say everybody behaves in this manner. But the real issue here, is this judge, in my estimation here. This judge here, Teresa Stokes, whom is under fire right now. Obviously, she's the one that allowed him to be released from prison. He's got a violent criminal history, schizophrenia diagnosis. Yep. Was freed after a 9/11 misuse arrest. There we go. He's now being held without bond, awaiting competency evaluation. Well, I mean, he obviously is not mentally competent. We understand this. This guy is severely mentally ill. But here's the thing. This judge knows all this. This judge will see the record when she's placing this adjudication against should he be released or not. And this magistrate judge, Teresa Stokes, who, by the way, never went to law school, never passed the bar, is now sitting on Mecklenburg County, North Carolina's courts. In this district court. And again, she signs off on these documents that led to Brown being released early this year in January, after he was again arrested for this misusing the 9/11 system, right? Falsely using it. That's a crime. And she sees this lengthy criminal record, this mental illness diagnosis of someone who is, again, a repeat offender. I mean, he's going to repeat again. If someone has done something 14 times and they're not stopping, it's going to happen again. It's just a matter of time. We don't know if he's committed other crimes from January until right now. We have no idea. With how, again, laid back the police are in these blue run cities. We have no idea. So despite this troubling past, despite these, 14 times, now 15 time convict, his criminal record includes the following. Take a listen to this. Felony larceny, robbery with a dangerous weapon, communicating threats. In 2015, Brown was sentenced to 6 years in prison for crimes committed between 2013 and 2014, being later released in 2020, but soon after was charged with assaulting his sister. I mean, he's assaulting his own family members. So we have domestic violence we can throw in there to his list of Emmy-winning characteristics, if I may say so. Things like this should not happen. Judges like this should be held accountable and removed from the bench when they're making decisions like this. This puts everybody at risk. Not just Iryna Zarutska, anybody. This man actually believes that there is something inside of him that's causing him to act out this way. The judge sees this and simply signs off on this. We've got to get rid of these activist judges. That's number one. And we've got to get rid of these radical, ideological judges. They give everybody a break that's a criminal. That puts everybody in this community at risk. And it's about time we've stopped this. We've seen how partisan these judges are, especially when coddling criminals. We've seen things pass like no cash bail, which again puts these repeat offenders right back out on the streets to do the same damn crime yet again, time after time. We've seen it again. I've seen it in LA. Then I was working in a school district, the very end of the school year. Some guy broke into the school. Now, he thought school was over. Nobody's going to be on campus. The guy breaks in, so we're all, in the parking lot, basically, in the street, actually, waiting. The cops are all there. He ended up turning himself over. Come to find out, this guy had been arrested 4 previous times. The cops knew who he was. And because of things like, in California, Prop 47, no cash bail, this guy's out on the street by lunch. Only to probably do it yet again. Breaking and entering, robbery. So what is it going to take to stop this? When are we going to start putting American citizens' lives first versus the criminals? Because we're not seeing it right now. We see parades in the streets protecting the rights of illegal aliens who have no right to be in this country at all. We're supposed to sit here and say everything's fine? I don't think. Something has got to change here, folks. And if nothing changes, we're going to continue to see instances like this. There's many of them. We never hear about them. We never hear about any of these things. I just saw another case. I think she's a 59-year-old or so, 60-year-old. I forget the age exactly. Someone who is a retired professor, a woman. White woman stabbed to death by a black man. Is there any outrage in the media for this? Is there any coverage of this out in the media like this? We've seen women being killed and assaulted by illegal aliens that have no right to be here. Where's the Me Too movement, by the way? I come to ask myself this as well. Where's the Me Too movement? They loved accusing Donald Trump of crimes which he never even committed. At least there's no evidence of it. Remember they were hell-bent and ardent about taking to the streets. Toxic masculinity, all that nonsense, all those protests. Where are they right now? Seriously, where are they? Why are they not upset and miffed about what has happened to this young Ukrainian woman coming to America for a better life? And she's stabbed to death on a train? No outrage. Where are the feminists, too? Where are the ardent, radical feminists? Where are they? Nowhere to be seen. as per usual, unless they're destroying, American culture, the bond between men and women, of course, the home structure. Unless that's happening, and it's not a big thing for them. They don't really care. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. I found this on these two things I want to play for you right now, actually. Actually, just one. I'm going to play one of these. But know this, too. The mayor of Charlotte, I think her name is V.I. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. I'm sorry. Her name is V. Lyles. She just won her 5th Democratic primary as mayor. Isn't that wonderful? They need to reward this woman who, by the way, congratulated the police and congratulated the news for not putting the story out there sooner. She said, "We will never arrest our way out of issues such as homelessness and mental health." Okay. So, again, your job as a politician, your job as a civil servant, is to ensure the rights of others, the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Are you seeing that in these blue cities? In these blue sanctuary states? And by the way, is anyone calling this a hate crime? That's another thing you got to ask yourself. Is this a hate crime? Absolutely. According to their standards, and again, I think everything would probably stem from hate. But we're not hearing anything about that issue. This was clearly racially motivated. He literally got up and said, and I heard it myself, so I can tell this to you. He says, "I got that white girl." Now he's playing the game, it's something inside of me. I don't know. Okay, well, maybe this guy's mentally ill. I don't care. Either way, he needs to be held accountable for this. But urging people to show compassion, you had a pastor setting up a GoFundMe? Thank God GoFundMe took that down. I mean, ridiculous. We saw that in, the Carmelo Anthony case, when he stabs Austin Metcalf right in the heart for no reason. We haven't seen that video yet, have we? And I can't wait to see how this case plays out too. But very little outrage. Raised what, $500,000 from him so his family can live in a mansion? It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. But here's another problem. Here's another problem we have here. We've got people like Van Jones. Yeah, Van Jones. You know who Van Jones is, right? He's the communist who sits on, what is he, CNN? The Crime News Network? Yeah, Van Jones. This guy never missed an opportunity to show his leftist values and, of course, his concerns for his fellow man, of course. Well, you take a listen to this in just a second, but it just illustrates to you that these people, again, do not care about the safety of Americans. They don't care. They're not concerned about it. It's not on their list of things to do. They simply do not care at all. That's the sad part about all this. Listen to what he has to say here. I can't believe he actually has the gall to say this after this woman has been slain in such a manner. Let's take a listen.
And did what he did. We don't know how to deal with people who were hurting in the way this man was hurting. Hurt people. What happened was horrible. No one mentioned the word race, white, black, or anything except him. We don't know why that man did what he did.
Yeah, we do know why he did what he did. He's a lunatic. This man's hurting? Only he mentioned, well, of course he did. Because it was racially motivated. Clearly. Why is he trying to protect this guy? Why is he trying to defend this type of behavior? Oh, this guy's having a bad day. What the hell do I care about that? I don't care. That doesn't mean you go and hurt somebody. Doesn't mean you go disrespect somebody because you're having a bad day. I'm so sick of this. You're passing the buck over to something else. This man was hurting. It's beyond me. How do they use this type of logic to justify what happened here? It's a guy, by the way, who was crying when I think Hillary Clinton lost for presidency. This is the same guy crying. No, he only sees race when it's relevant to him and his narrative. That's it. Because as a young white woman, who the hell cares? That's what he's basically saying here. Van Jones. Ought to be ashamed of himself. It's unbelievable. And again, I say this a lot to you because this is unbelievable that people are acting in this way. What we need here is solidarity. That's what we need. And we're not seeing it, again, from our pundits or our putzes, however way you want to look at it, in our mainstream media at all. This is a time to come together and speak out against this type of... And again, it would be wrong if anyone did this. But why? Because it's a young white woman that nobody seems to give a damn. Doesn't fit the narrative. They don't care. That's another problem. They simply don't care. That's apparent. And when will the judges be held accountable for this? This man should not have been released from prison. Our politicians are failing us, folks, especially in our blue cities. And again, once these people get out, they can go anywhere they want. He's not just confined to Charlotte. Or Mecklenburg County. He's not just confined. He can go wherever he wants. He can roam free, do it somewhere else. That's what everyone says, we only have 4 border states with Mexico. No. Every state's a border state. Once you're in the country illegally, you're here illegally. Now, if you're in a state with actual laws that would detain somebody and arrest them and deport them, that's one thing. But once you're in the interior of the country, you're here. Every state becomes a border state. That's what people fail to understand. So we need to get our facts straight here. We need to understand what's actually going on. And these types of brutal attacks need to stop in this country. People being arrested of crimes like this need to be held accountable. They should not be released. And the appropriate crime, in this case, must also take place here. I don't think life in prison is fitting for what this animal did to this young woman. And we need to stand up for each other, folks. You saw 5 people, I think, just sit there and do nothing after this woman was stabbed. Not a care in the world. Again, where's our morality? Where's the civility in our civil society, so-called? Completely eroding right in front of our eyes, unfortunately. All right, let's move on. This upsets me to talk about this. Let's move on. Let's talk about what happened in Doha, Qatar, just the other day. Another travesty, if you ask me, of course. But again, the Trump administration, for some reason, appears to have given this okay to Israel. Again, a lot of people will say, oh, well, no. Netanyahu says he didn't know about it, Please. They do everything with our support, with our approval. Now, people will say Trump runs Netanyahu. Some people say Netanyahu runs Trump. It's a combination. The left shoe works with the right foot, right? And vice versa in this situation. So as most of you know, the state of Israel took to bomb the location where these Hamas negotiators were being told to meet. You know that Trump gave them this ultimatum, of course, to accept this Israeli proposed ceasefire. They went. Israel then enters Qatar's airspace. And by the way, we see everything in their airspace because we have, 10,000 troops on the ground there in Doha. So we see everything that's going on there. They're stationed in a base in Doha. And yet we have no idea that this imminent attack is coming. Come on. And again, Doha does nothing. Qatar does nothing. They bomb this location. It was said to be this Hamas headquarters. Killing one of the chief negotiator's sons, by the way, and 2 members of Qatar's security force members. Again, negotiations are now over. Now, President Trump has also stated he's upset by this. This was interesting to me. However, either he knew about it or his cabinet had to know about this. There's no 2 ways about it. He had to have known that this attack was coming. Someone had to have greenlit this. And of course, they were in talks of returning these hostages. It's over now. It's absolutely over. And, I hate to tell you this, but how else would Israel know where exactly they were? And how did Qatar not take down these planes of a foreign government that's inside their airspace? There's no two ways about it, folks. These two things can't happen simultaneously. There's no way the U.S. couldn't have figured this out. There's no way that Qatar could have figured this out. Qatar, whom the United States holds in regard as an ally, by the way. So Donald Trump sets up a meeting inside Doha, and then Israel breaks the ceasefire and then bombs these buildings in a foreign country without ever declaring war. Folks, I don't know. I really don't know. And by the way, this is likely the plan all along, I'd have to say. I mean, the way I look at it, all along the way it seems like this was set in motion. We saw this exact same thing happen with Iran. Remember they were supposed to be meeting on that Sunday, that Friday, Israel decides to bomb Tehran, killing the chief negotiator, Ali Shamkhani. Several other people, by the way, in the government and as well as nuclear scientists. And Trump wasn't upset at all. He applauded it. He applauded the attack. He said, this is great. Then everyone on the news, they said 60 days. This would have been day 61. Then, okay, why would the Trump administration, why would the negotiators, again, agree to these terms, by the way? They were going to agree to everything that Trump was proposing, which would have been fantastic, too, by the way, for just security purposes and peace. But if you're under the impression, hey, the President of the United States wants to meet with us, we're going to meet on this day, and you agree to it, you would probably think that 60-day deadline is probably null and void at this point. That's the way I think about it. Then all of a sudden, these bombs hit Tehran, unprovoked. Again, killing the chief negotiator. What happened here? We see the son of one of these negotiators, these chief negotiators, killed. Now, do you think they're going to trust the United States or Israel after this? To hold their word? I don't think so. I think these negotiations, these talks of negotiation mean absolutely nothing. And again, what did Trump do when Shamkhani was killed? Nothing. Just congratulated Israel, made some excuse, again, about this 60-day deadline. Again, which is garbage because Trump agreed to this meeting with them. They were going to give him everything, by the way. They were going to show that they were not going to enrich uranium past, I think it was 3.5%. They're going to allow Americans to monitor and observe these nuclear facility sites to prove that they were not building a nuclear weapon. And this is huge. Absolutely huge. And by the way, if he actually pulled that off, I think Trump would be eligible for the Nobel Peace Prize. Now I can't see that happening at all. Again, based on what we're seeing here. Bombing Doha in the midst of peace talks. Again, peace talks. Why would you bomb people when they're coming to speak to you about, again, negotiations, about returning hostages, and about peace, and about a ceasefire? And then, like always, Israel doesn't hold up their end of the bargain. It's the same MO every time. Then, this time President Trump acts like he's upset, but he doesn't do anything. Except everything that Netanyahu wants done in the Middle East. I mean, that's what we're seeing right now. You see it with the bombing in Doha, the bombing of the Houthis in Yemen's capital, right? Killing 6, wounding 86 people. Also hitting the Assar oil facility and the Hizaz power plant inside Yemen. And by the way, the Houthis have said time and time again, they'll stop this attack so long as what's happening in Gaza stops. Yet we continue to see what's happening inside Gaza continue on again and again. And those efforts have been ramped up as far as lately. So we're not seeing any stop to this. In fact, they're now bombing high-rise buildings inside Gaza now. Of course, said to be occupied by Hamas. So I don't get it. Are they in the tunnels? Are they in these high-rise buildings? Where are they? Nobody knows. But let's not waste any time. Let's look at what's happening inside Gaza, particularly Gaza City right now. You know, you have the bombing of these high-rise buildings, as I just said to you. The only thing that's really left standing here, and everything else is turned into one big tent city, by the way. There's no electricity, there's no running water, there's no ample food supply. It's awful. And by the way, Netanyahu has also told his party that, specifically to the Knesset, that he would destroy as many buildings as possible inside Gaza. So I'm starting to think, you know, this vernacular change of the Department of Defense in the U.S. to the Department of War is very fitting. We don't have any defense. Nobody's attacked us. Think about that. We're engaged in conflict after conflict. We've bombed sovereign nations. We've gone to war without Congress's approval. It has nothing to do with defense. Defense is defending the homeland, which has also seen failures of as of late. But I mean, this isn't happening right now. This whole thing is getting blown out of proportion, by the way. And again, I don't understand this. This whole thing in Qatar too. It just bothers me. Absolutely appalling. Their air defense, their radars, all somehow failed. You know, I seldom believe in coincidences, but I mean, this is a bit odd. Same thing with October 7th. You're telling me that the border wall fails, the IDF is told to stand down for 7 hours, and that's not intentional? They have one of the biggest attacks on them in probably recent history, killing almost 1,200 people, taking another 250 hostage. And did you know, I want to share this with you too before I move on to, again, what's happening in Gaza. Lee Zeldin, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi are all lobbyists for Qatar. That's what Max Blumenthal said yesterday on Judge Andrew Napolitano's podcast, which I highly recommend to everybody listening. So I said to myself, what is the quid pro quo here? We have these ultra-Zionists who are, again, lobbying for Qatar, right? One of these Gulf Arab states. In return for what? We help protect their oil fields. We do business with them, and then they allow us to do whatever the hell we want inside their nation, including bombing people we're negotiating with. It's really interesting stuff to consider, by the way. You know, it doesn't make any sense what's happening here. So Israel now has attacked Turkey, by the way. Did you know this? Turkey was constructing bases inside Syria, and they were attacked recently by Israel. It just never ends. When are we going to start to see peace break out? Because we're saying Israel attack Iran, Israel attack Yemen, Israel attacks in Gaza against the Palestinians, of whom they want to ethnically cleanse. And they've said this. It takes 5 seconds to find what Smotrich, which Ben-Gvir, which Danny Danon, all of them. Netanyahu himself. He wants to bomb as many high-rise buildings inside Gaza as possible, is what he said. And by the way, Netanyahu could have actually had these hostages out before this invasion even took place. Hamas said they will return each and every one of them so long as they don't invade Gaza. Well, he obviously declined that. So the hostages are the last thing on his mind. The big thing on his mind is where he can get an angle to control the entire Gaza Strip. And that's what he's trying to work with the Trump administration on, clearly. That's what we're seeing there. So it gets worse. It gets worse here. And by the way, I saw this in the Times of Israel. This just posted yesterday. It says, Netanyahu says Gaza war can end immediately after Doha strike on Hamas chiefs. Again, I don't understand this. They think they've taken out the top brass. Yet we don't have the hostages back yet. So if the hostages were the problem, why are they saying this now? Again, it makes absolutely no sense to me. Thinking about this. So after Israel carried out these airstrikes in Qatar, targeting these Hamas leaders, whom they were supposed to be negotiating with the United States with, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Tuesday that the immunity of terror leaders abroad is now over, while predicting the strikes could end the war in Gaza. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening unless they think they've taken out anyone that would prevent them from taking the land, or any type of opposition to that. Politicians across the political spectrum also celebrated the attack, hailing the security and intelligence services and issuing warnings to remaining Hamas leaders who reside outside of Gaza and the West Bank. Yep, according to the Israeli officials, the strike was aimed at the top Hamas leaders, including Khalil el-Hayya, the terrorist group's exiled Gaza chief and top negotiator. He was one of the people that was killed in this. Now, an official said that Israel was increasingly optimistic that they were killed. The Hamas sources claimed the top officials survived the attack. That part is actually true. That's what Max Blumenthal believes, and I tend to believe his research very well because he conducts excellent research. But then Netanyahu goes on to X, or at least his office does, and they say the following. They say, today's actions against top terrorist chieftains of Hamas was a wholly independent Israeli operation. Israel initiated it, Israel conducted it, and Israel takes full responsibility. Now, wait a minute. Again, how would they know where they are? How would they have this immunity to control the airspace just over Doha, inside Qatar, without any type of opposition, folks? I mean, we saw recently in Poland, they're claiming that Russian drones were flying overhead inside Poland and were taken down. Do you honestly think that Qatar's going to allow a plane to come in unchallenged, bombing buildings inside Doha? Yeah, what about our 10,000 troops? Do you think they're sitting there? They have no idea what's happening in the airspace? I think otherwise, folks. So again, lots of things happening here. Israel's taking credit for it, but you have to understand that the Trump administration gave it the okay. By the way, look at that fishing boat that they just blew up recently near Venezuela, right? 11 people killed. We have no idea who they were, by the way. Or even if they were carrying drug paraphernalia, as they were claiming it did. Or you've all seen the video. The ship's moving along. There's a small little fishing ship. A boat, really. I mean, it's not even a ship. It's just tiny. The idea that this ship would be able to make it to the United States, I think, is laughable at best. But it looks like a fishing ship. Boat. Excuse me. I keep calling it a ship. I don't know why. I mean, the boat itself would have made this journey. Yet we're told that this is okay. Fighting the drug war, apparently, so we can bomb whoever we view as a threat. So if there was drugs that were on its way to the United States, wouldn't the proper thing be that the Coast Guard intercepts this boat, arrests these people, confiscates the drugs, and then try these people? Versus blowing up the ship. We have no idea who's on the ship. I think this was a flex to the Venezuelan government. That's the way I see it. I don't see it as productive or prudent or even really constitutional that we can just bomb a ship so far away from America that poses absolutely no threat to us. Now, I know what some people are thinking. We don't want drugs entering the United States. Of course not. Of course not. We don't want that. But the idea that we can just do this, bomb a boat here, bomb a boat there, doesn't make any sense to me. It's just not the right way to conduct business. That's my estimation. On that issue, I think you'll agree with me. We shouldn't just be bombing boats. Again, they could be people that wish to do us harm. They need to be arrested. They need to be tried. We need to know who they are. We have no idea who's on this boat. There might not have been drugs on it. We don't know. We're told there is, but we have no idea. So how are you supposed to, again, hold people accountable when you just blow up a boat? You know, a fishing boat in the ocean. It's so ridiculous. So I told you yesterday Max Blumenthal was on with Judge Andrew Napolitano, a great journalist, by the way. He actually stated that it's actually Ecuador and the Noboa family, this is the president's family, by the way, that actually runs the government and is actually responsible for these shipments of cocaine, these mass shipments of cocaine into the United States. Yet we're blaming Venezuela for this as being the drug kingpin for bringing cocaine to the United States. I don't see that as being a threat. We obviously sent ships down there recently, again, to, I guess, pose some type of opposition to them. I don't understand that as well. And by the way, China is actually working inside Venezuela right now to repair the country's oil and gas supplies and the refineries as well to get them producing. It's just odd to me. We're seeing these ties. China's building in West Africa. China's building in Panama. They're outsourcing what they can do. And they're the second greatest economy in the world right now. And they're trying to one-up it. That's what we're seeing right now. So now, seeing them inside Venezuela, is Venezuela going to join BRICS now as well? Are we going to add into that GDP? That power block? Only time will tell. And by the way, one other thing that's really interesting, I just recently found out. Colonel Douglas McGregor stated this too yesterday. He was saying that Jews are now settling in southern Ukraine, developing communities and policing them, and actually having police dressed in police uniforms that would look similar to that of a U.S. policeman, while younger Ukrainians are being permitted into Poland right now to evade this conflict and the war. And they're only allowing in fellow Jews into this community now in southern Ukraine. Again, odd to see. It's interesting to see this happening. I don't know where this is coming from, but I thought that was interesting. And then, I go back to this meeting with Putin. Clearly that's going nowhere. We see no signs of peace between both Ukraine and Russia. Putin has stated that he's willing to again meet with America so long as they come prepared this time. So in other words, nothing of any value was created by this meeting, except the two world leaders meeting, of course. Zelensky not budging, certainly not working to create any type of peace inside this war and clearly ending it. So the war of attrition seems to go on, and Russia is full on bombing and continuing on with this. So no end in sight there, no end in sight, nothing happening. It's awful to see these things. But again, I commended the president for working towards peace, but we actually have to broker a real peace deal. We actually have to come to the table prepared. We have to accept the reality that Russia has won this conflict and will win this conflict. And the depletion of the Ukrainian mail, again, is something that's simply not good as well. So we can only pray that what's happening in the Middle East ends. It puts everybody at risk, of course. We pray that what's happening between Russia and Ukraine ends as well. Yeah, 1.7 million dead Ukrainian men as a result of this, not to mention the people that have fled the country as well as refugees. I want to talk a little bit about the economy now as I segue forward here. I saw this article in Newsweek that was just published the other day. And it says that the 2025 American Dream will cost you $5 million. Not too shabby, right? Given inflation. I thought this was interesting. It says here, the American Dream has long symbolized the promise of opportunity, prosperity, upward mobility. But nearly a century later, again, this is referring back to a 1931 book called The Epic of America, which describes the dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability and or achievement. Now, of course, we don't see that today with the likes of DEI, of course, and other parameters that tend to hold people back. But nonetheless, a century later, achieving that same vision that was realistic is more expensive than ever now. Now, according to new research published by Investatopia, the lifetime cost of attaining the traditional American dream, including home ownership, retirement, raising children, a wedding, new cars, healthcare, pets, annual vacations, now totals roughly $5 million. So I hope you have a nice, six-figure salary you can dip into for this, because if you're not, it's not happening. Now, these calculations assume a college-educated, dual-income household capable of sustaining these ambitions over a lifetime. So how do they break it down? Well, they break down that your retirement should have $1.6 million in it. So that's obviously a lot of capital, of which you need to save up over time. Most Americans don't do this at all, by the way. Most people have very little savings. As the saying goes, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. But you need to start early with this planning, and it's never too late to start, by the way. But what they recommend here is, if you're a 25-year-old, and you save $560 a month, earn 7% interest, putting in a stock or mutual fund or what have you, 401k, whatever you want to do, that could easily, by the time you're 67, estimate to $1.6 million. So that's, again, it's the pay yourself first method. Every time you get a paycheck, you need to pay yourself first. And that means investing in your retirement, investing in your savings. That's what you're seeing right now. That's what you should be doing. So if you're a young person listening, or even if you're a little bit older, saving is never a bad thing. In fact, it's a necessity today, now more than ever. Healthcare costs, the next big issue on this list. $414,000 for that. I mean, that's healthcare costs over the years, the past 2 decades, primarily have been raising 5 to 6% annually, outpacing other consumer expenditures. Investatopia calculates that from the ages of 22 to 85, the average adult will spend $1,414,000. It's absurd. I don't even go to the hospital. Hopefully mine will stay zero for the remainder of my life, but who knows? Folks, you got to invest in things like dieting properly. That's an organic diet, eating the right types of fats and proteins, drinking distilled water, taking supplementation. That means putting the right nutrients in your body. Exercising, even though the New York Department of Health is telling you otherwise. These are things you need to do. And when you invest in taking care of your body like you would invest in your retirement, or you invest in your home or your car, you're going to see it last longer. So, put away the diet sodas, the chips, the fast food. Start investing in cooking real foods. Get real nutrients in your body. And again, start drinking distilled water. That'll be one of the biggest things you could do for yourself. Buy a distiller and distill. I mean, that's I've been doing that for about 10 years now, at least. And it's probably one of the best investments I've ever made in my life. That and taking many quality supplements. So do that. Stay away from drugs, alcohol, tobacco, all these things that are detrimental to your health. Now, there's no doubt that healthcare cost, inflation, and the slow wage growth make life harder. But again, you need to plan ahead. And when you invest in yourself, you really don't need to use healthcare that often. I went to the dentist a couple of weeks ago. That's the only time I go to the dentist, I go to the eye doctor. I don't go to see a physician because most of the time it's just ridiculous anyways, in my estimation. They checked my blood pressure and it's 111/74. I'm almost, I'm 39 years old. I'm getting up there in age. But that's pretty damn good, I'd have to say. But it's because I eat right. It's because I take care of my body. I exercise. If your body fat percentage is, 25%, you got to start doing something about that. So put down the sweets, put down the refined carbs. Start your day off with some fried eggs, some turkey bacon. Stay away from pork. That's awful for you. Drink things like distilled water, as I said to you before. Don't put added sugar into things like your coffee or your drinks or anything like that. And again, get the feet moving. Start exercising. Go for walks. Go for an hour-long walk. You'll start to see a difference. Home ownership. Let's get into that one. That one's important. Homeownership, $957,594. Obviously, these people don't live in California, hopefully. With the median single-family home prices sitting at somewhere around, well, as I told you the other day, it was $462,000 in 2025. A 30-year fixed-rate mortgage averaging at 6.69%. Homeowners face nearly double the purchase price over time when including the interest, the maintenance, and the homeowners association fees. That's not even including things like the insurance on a home, the property tax as well. So, thinking about that, you're paying a lot for a home now. It's more costly than ever. But certainly a cornerstone of the American dream. Certainly many young people feel that's out of reach for them. Goes on to say, despite rising costs, 85% of Investopia's survey respondents still consider home ownership a vital part of the American dream. Yeah, absolutely. Now let's move on to raising kids. It says here raising 2 kids. You should have 3 kids. By the way, if you want to maintain the existing demographic, which we've been failing to do for several decades now. But you should have 3 kids. So from infancy through college remains one of the costliest undertakings, of course, because you're paying for everything. This is a high price here. It says Investopia calculates $650,000 to cover childcare, transportation, meals, other expenses. Think about buying clothes, toys, products, other things like that. With college cost exceeding $230 for 2 kids. I don't know about that. That could be that high. Certainly, eventually it will be that high. But yeah, college is more expensive now than ever. Thanks again to the Democrats, of course, who backed the student loans that the people take out now. Wonderful, right? Yeah, I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money. Certainly going to cost a lot of money. But you got to figure, that's over the span of what? 22 years? 23 years? It's doable. So, again, have a family, have kids, have 3 kids. Purchasing new cars, $900,000. I'm going to try to go through this a little bit quicker because we only have a few minutes remaining. Annual vacations, $180,000. Owning pets, $40,000. Wedding. Hopefully you only have one wedding. $38,200. Yeah, the cost of the American dream is slipping away, folks. And that's due to things like inflation, of course, reducing your purchasing power. And, again, you need more dollars to have the same level of enjoyment that people 100 years ago had. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. We need to get back on track with that for sure. I wanted to go over this article in the Trends Journal. We're not going to have time for it. I'm going to go over it tomorrow, though. That gives a kind of a review of the economy right now as a whole. I was going to try to segue with this one and transition to this afterwards so you can actually see what's happening with our unemployment rate that seems to be slightly rising, the lack of growth. But I want to finish with this one today. This is a little quick one I could share with you. It says that PayPal and Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, this was J.D. Vance's mentor, by the way, when he worked in Silicon Valley, is embarking on an unusual intellectual journey this fall, delivering a sold-out 4-part lecture series on the biblical figure of the Antichrist. Let that sink in for just a second. The private lectures, which can be held at the Commonwealth Club San Francisco, represent the latest evolution of Thiel's increasingly public theological interest that intertwine his Christian faith with his concerns about technology's potential to enable authoritarian control. I don't really know what to say about this. This seems a little bit odd. Where he's talking about the Antichrist and sharing about this. It's a bit odd to me that a billionaire is going out to do this. But we know that things like transhumanism, things of the AI world where they want robots to do everything for us and everything, is part of their reality in this world. That's what they want to see in the United States. That should be something that we don't want to see happen. But, I talked to you about morality. When's morality going to make its way back in the United States? Why not talk about Christ? Why not talk about the gift of God? instead of talking about things negative like the Antichrist. I don't know how you can be a Christian and be promoting anything like that. That's just my take on it. Folks, hope you enjoy the show. Please make sure you share with some friends today, and make sure you keep your house in order. That's where it all starts, folks. I'll see you tomorrow on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good, stay great, stay busy. God bless.